Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for tuning in today. We've got Kevin and Megan, and so excited that they're here. Kevin, you start out with total tennis domination, right?
Yeah,
Tennis domination.
total tennis domination. It's been a
Total
while.
total
Yeah.
tennis domination. And I noticed that Megan was your hitting partner in a lot of those drills, and I always was wondering who is that? Great player too. You both are great players, great instructors. Then you went over to Essential Tennis, and now you're back doing your thing. So before we get into today's lesson, what's kind of cool is right away, I'm surprised. I'm like 11:30 Tuesday, how many people are going to be on? We already are at 42 and we barely just started. So thank you
Super.
so much for being on, guys. And I'll acknowledge you guys in a second. Like I see Gordon's there and everything. So but tell us what you're up to, because you're one of you two are some of my favorite online instructors.
Well, we've just been honestly getting back in the swing of creating a lot of content and just kind of giving a lot of value out. Trying to find our kind of space, and because obviously, we I used to do a lot of content before and coming back and doing it, and then we've kind of settled in and we've kind of grown this program here, kind of offline at the club, but online we're gonna start coming out with new courses. So we're really pumped about starting to present some new courses out, and do more videos and just do more and more and more, since we've got our feet kind of going.
Yes, guys, if you haven't seen, go check out, just go to YouTube, type in Kevin Garlington or Total Tennis Domination. You're going to see they've put out new videos. They're fantastic. They're already getting a lot of views. It seems like you've been back at it. Maybe you can let me know if I'm wrong, but I've been noticing you. You've been showing up in my feed a lot, probably the last 4 to 6 months. Is that
Oh,
about
wow.
right?
Yeah, pretty much about 4 to 6 months. We just been trying to crank out videos in a more steady fashion, and then just keep going.
Cool. Now, Megan, are we going to see you in more instructional videos too? I noticed that Kevin's kind of been hogging up the spotlight.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in some?
Yes, I am. I am definitely. I think one of the biggest things was getting the ground running at the club that we moved to. And kind of now that things are more established, that I'm going to start doing more online. So that was kind of our game plan. And now that we're like a year in, now we're ready to kind of keep going with the online thing. Kevin's been holding down the fort.
Good. Well, you both are great on camera. You're both great instructors, both super likable. So I know everybody's there excited. I could see Codisme, if I'm saying that right, is super excited about you guys. We have 54 people on. I want to jump right into this. Guys, they're part of TennisCon 5. Can you guys see the 5? It's like TennisCon 5. They're going to be part of TennisCon 5, which I'm super thrilled about. And today they're going to help you. It's 5 reasons why your serve's not improving. Is that what you guys are going to cover today?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about what that is. And then before you even get into the lesson, tell everybody something special that you're going to do, because yes, it's a serve talk. You're still going to learn a lot, but there's nothing like seeing also. So tell them what you're going to do for everybody besides this lesson right here.
So we're going to put a link in the description a little bit, and I'll get you that link, where everything we talk about, how we break down these 5 different reasons, we're going to do video training on it. So obviously in a talk, you can't see and experience everything we're talking about. But what we're going to do is break it down so you have drills to go through. And that's something at least that we think a lot of, when doing videos online, YouTube, there's a lot about just talking about it, but we want to give you step-by-step things so you can take it home and make a change, so you can see a change in your game. And that's what we want to do for everybody here. So once you get that link, you'll be able to sign up. It's totally free, and we'll send you the training for each one of these things we're going to talk about that can help your serve.
That is super nice. And that's why people love you guys. Like, look at Anna C here going, hi from France. Did you know you had fans out in France? So glad to see Megan and Kevin. You guys are very lovable. I would like to give you guys like a real hug, but I can't. Okay. Go ahead. Well, tell us what is mistake number 1, because I think watching a lot of my players and watching club tennis, yeah, you're seeing that some things improve, but then the serve seems to stay the same year after year. And if you probably ask people what they'd like a better of, I want a better forehand, I want a better backhand. Serve is always at the top of the list. So what are these mistakes? Why are people not improving their serve, even though everybody wants to improve their serve?
I think one thing that that really holds people back, and this is something Megan's talked about a lot about, is choosing your track in the beginning. And what I mean by this is that when you start off playing, and it's kind of hard and it's kind of can get you tripped up, is in the beginning stage, a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to play recreationally. And then they kind of get into it and they want to like start progressing. And so the problem sometimes with that is that we just settle with like, oh, I'll just kind of dink it in. And usually when we think dink it in and it makes perfect sense, I'm going to smush it over here with Megan, but it makes perfect sense in the beginning because you're thinking like, if the court's that way, I need to face the strings this way, and I need to have everything go in that direction, which sets you up in a very inefficient grip. And that is probably one of the biggest killers for most recreational players, because they get locked in and the other part of it is you get rewarded for it, because in the beginning you're like, this is easy. Why would I serve with that thing? That thing's hard. And so you get kind of addicted to it, like it's working, I can play. And then you get to a certain level, like in the US, maybe like a 3-0, you might be able to squeeze out a 3-5. And then you start hitting plateaus trying to go above that. And it's because your grip, it doesn't allow you to do a couple things. With your grip in this kind of pancake grip, as you try to angle the racket where you can get it more level so the ball goes, let's say if you're trying to hit it harder and or let me back up. If you hit it soft and the racket's open, the ball is going to go up, it goes in. But as you start hitting it harder, it's going to go longer. And so your compensation for that is to try to narrow it down. But then what happens is the margin over the net gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you realize you can't do it. And so the solution is having a continental grip or a grip closer to it. I know it's very hard. Yeah, we have this discussion all the time.
We argue about this all the time.
But it's very hard for somebody, especially jump from like a pancake to a continental, but start working your way over. You can do progression or progress to that grip. And the benefits of the grip, well, before we talk about the benefits of the grip, you also have to change your mindset. And the mindset about the swing, which is, I think I was just working with a student yesterday. And when I said, I need you to swing away from the target, they were like, what?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Why would I swing away from the target? And it's always, I say this, Ryan, we used to say it at Essential Tennis, and we say it now here, the racket face sends it and the path bends it. And so keeping in mind that the racket face, wherever the racket face is pointing at contact, that's going to send the ball, and the path is going to create the spin. And so once you start having that, they realize that, oh, well, I can go away from the target, but still have my racket looking at the target. And so when you start thinking of your serve in that way, and the benefits of that is you can start adding spin. When you can add spin, you can increase the acceleration on your serve, and it can come down to the court more. And then that's why this grip, the pancake grip, doesn't work, because it's really hard to keep the racket face looking at the target and then create spin. Sorry, I'm going to do it this way. Create spin doing this kind of windshield wiper and serve. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
When you have a continental grip, now you can redirect. And again, it's hard to see. I'm just going to hug Megan here. You're going to hug and go this way,
yes,
up the side, and then you can achieve more spin, which allows you to get more consistency and get the ball in play.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that understanding that if you could start from day one, I think someone asked about why not do it from day one. Yeah, of course, like totally.
Yes.
But, I would say 80% of the people who come, they've kind of either self-taught or they really haven't worked on it, because starting from day one with Continental is hard. It's actually very difficult, and it takes a lot of training. It's easier to just have the pancake grip and go, okay, there's the ball and it's going to go in. And so I think anytime you can start from day one, that's awesome. But if you can't, it's working your way to that. And it doesn't mean you'd have to just go full tilt either. A lot of times what I tell people to do is, if you're working on your serve and you have a match coming up, you don't want to change everything, but you might, work on your serve for the correct grip for your first serve, and then just get your second serve in. At a certain level, you just need to make the ball. And so it's being able to work on things while continuing not to feel like you're going to double fault every single time you go out, especially if you're playing doubles. It's a horrible feeling when you double fault every point and your partner's like, great, wish I had a new guy out there with me. And all you can think about is how you are letting down your partner, and then that makes
Yes.
the serve worse, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think it's a great way to work on both. You can have the first serve that you really are trying to work on, and then obviously get your second serve in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, you hit on something big. In fact, I just want to tell everybody to get very excited about TennisCon 5. And when you upgrade to your lifetime, sorry guys, I'm already selling lifetime membership. I'm doing one of the bonuses I'm giving you guys is a half-hour video lesson called The Edge of Power, because that is the difference between 3-5, 3-0 to 3-5 tennis, and then everything else you see, to where you start seeing like club players starting to look like pros a little bit, and then certainly pro tennis, is that when you go out and you play, I mean, you guys just summed it up perfectly. Kevin said exactly what I said in my video. I'm like, everybody who plays tennis, by and large, most people are like really intelligent. And so you use common sense. Like, well, common sense says if I do this, the ball is going to go over the net. If I do this, the ball is going to go over the net. You don't think to go, if I attack the ball, the edge on my serve, on my forehand, on my volleys, on a slice backhand, all attacking the edge, to where when you look at it in video, literally to the last frame, look at a serve, look at a forehand, look at a slice backhand, till the last possible frame, it is not possible to make the tennis ball. And you don't do something crazy with your wrist. All you do is just trust your technique. You don't do any last second tweak like you think you might have to do, because again, common sense is going to take over and go, well, there's no way I'm going to make the ball in if I'm doing this. I got to do something, right? No, you just trust the technique and you allow the swing path to take over. Like you were saying, like the what did you say? Swing path sends it, something meant it. That was brilliant. What did you say?
The racket face sends it, the path bends it.
Yeah. See, so that's so huge, and that's what's kind of cool too, guys. Is again, remember, we just went through a lot of information. I can see people online are super excited. We already have 85 people on here, and Kevin's actually going to send you guys videos on everything we're talking about. So make sure that you stay in close contact on my email list. I do have this question from Gordon, which again, Gordon is across the pond. If you guys don't know Gordon Tanner, he's a damn legend, this guy. I do all these challenges. He sends me videos from his 3 grass courts in Oxford, and he does not miss a day of a challenge. He sends me videos all the time. So we have to answer his question, which I don't even know if I know the answer. What grip did Boris use on that serve? Because that thing looked weird, but it was one of the best serves ever.
Yeah, I don't think Boris was full continental. And I think you will find some players that aren't full continental. But here's the key about if you're not full continental is that as long as when you're holding the racket and the edge can be going in the direction, you can still manage the racket face. I guess, sorry, I'm looking at the racket as I'm doing this, but you guys can't see it. But as long as you can manage the edge and have it where you can pull the racket through, you're probably pretty good. What happens is when the hand starts getting behind the racket, it actually disrupts the edge of the racket. Oh, nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, I was like, whoa, impressive. So here is a continental grip, kind of full conti, and I can still go on edge here. I'm going to about Eastern. I'm still on edge. Right when I come to about probably a little bit down on Eastern, the strings actually start opening up. So right around here, there's a little bit of play. And I've seen a couple players that have like a really, let's say, soft continental, maybe a little bit
Eastern. A lot of pro women are a little off.
And they can get away with it. But when you come around too far, yeah, I think that's where it starts breaking down.
Let me just try something too tech-wise here. What does that do? That doesn't do anything. I'm just kind of moving it around. So I want to, that's more me. I want more of you guys. How do I do that? How do I do that? That's all me. We don't want that. Okay, well, I'll figure it out another time. But yeah, so that's really, really cool. So that's mistake number one. And like Coach Disney said, bad habits are hard to break. And I think Megan really hit on something big. It's like, you know, I've heard a lot of people. It's 93 people on, by the way. You guys are amazing.
Awesome, thank you.
I have heard a lot of like coaches and then like know-it-all troll people online, like, well, people, if you're not starting out in the continental grip, then like, you kind of deserve what you get and blah, blah, blah. But again, remember, most people who start playing tennis, they don't even start with a lesson. They just start with common sense. So
Yeah.
you can't blame people to not start with the continental grip because who would do that naturally? No one, virtually no one. You would need a lesson. And then you would need a coach who would say, hey, first day, we're going to fail a lot. And when someone's paying you money, a lot of times they're like, no, I want to put it in the box right there. So, so again, lots of people will say, my goal is I want to be on a league. A lot of adults who pick it up. I want to be on a league in like 3 or 4 months. And so the coach lots of times is like, all right, well, we'll get you on a league. Let's just get the ball in. And is there anything wrong with that? I say no, but it does dig a hole. Because muscle memory starts to be developed, trust starts to be developed in this, and then all of a sudden you got to change grips. That's a complete turnaround, and so that's where it does become hard. That's why you got to follow Megan and Kevin because they've got the goods on the information. Okay, we got so many great comments, which I'm going to get to. Gordon, I got to put that in there. TennisCon 4 is a superb, and TennisCon 5 is even better, guys. Okay, so mistake number 2, go.
The ball toss. You want to talk about the ball toss?
Yeah. So I think a lot of times what happens with the ball toss is not only is it everywhere 90% of the time, but I think the problem is because people don't actually understand what makes the ball toss do what it does. I think a lot of people are just like, I'm going to put it right there. And then when it doesn't go there, then they're like, I don't know how to change it. They're like, my toss is off today. And then you do what I like to call cardio serving, where you take 3 steps to actually hit the ball because the ball is not anywhere in your strike zone. And so then everything gets compromised. And one thing that I think it's really important to understand, Kevin and I are very much about the why of things happen. I think there's a lot of people that'll tell you how to do something, but I think it's really important for people to understand the why so that when your coaches aren't there on the court with you, you can actually figure out what's going on and you can fix it yourself. That's the goal for us when we're teaching, is to help our students figure out stuff on their own so that we don't have to be standing next to them telling them why things aren't working. And I think with the toss, understanding that the release timing is what causes the toss to go where it goes. So if you release too early on your toss, the ball will go too far in front of you. And if you release too late, the ball toss will go behind you. And it could be your arm's going to look the exact same way. It's going to not change at all, but the toss can still change where it's going depending upon the release timing. And so understanding how to change that and what's going on can really make a difference in getting your consistency with your toss. And we have a really good drill that, again, we're going to give out to everyone that helps you define what you kind of lean towards. I think every player leans towards either they release time too early all the time, or they release time too late all the time. You don't see a lot of people doing everywhere, although it may feel like that. And so understanding what happens when you're under pressure, under pressure, I often release the ball too early and then my toss is too far in front of me and then I go chase it. And if you kind of know that about yourself because you've trained it correctly, then you know how to correct that in a situation where you are under pressure. You're down 4-5 and you're serving for, come back in the match, or you're up 5-4 and you're serving for the match, kind of thing. So, because when we're under pressure, those are always when people get the yips, right? So, and the toss is one of the biggest things I think that happens.
Yeah, and I think something
situation.
you said that's super important is that why, because I think a lot of people get in situations in the match and they get freaked out. Something's not working and they don't have anything to go to. They're like, my coach told me to do this. Or sometimes when we're talking about singles, or a lot of times we're working with players on doubles, like, this coach told me to do this. And like, but it's not working. But they don't know why. They don't know why it's not working and what to move to next. And so by understanding the why of like why your toss is going too far in front or too in back, it gives you personal power to make a change. Mm-hmm. And that's so important, to have the ability to fix and problem solve. I love this quote. I don't know if you've ever seen the Agassi. He did that on Udemy. And he talks about tennis players are great problems. Great tennis players are great problem solvers. And if you don't understand the why to what you're doing and why you're doing it, you can't start solving the problem.
Yeah, that's great. I got to do this real quick. Bashkar, who's also amazing. I want you right now, Bashkar, to go to TikTok, make a dance video, share this video right here because we're almost at 100 people. And Bashkar, if you go make a TikTok dance video right now and share it with all your followers, I'm sure we can get over 100. And that goes for everybody else out there watching it. Go make a TikTok dance video, share this video right now. Let's get over 100. Come on, let's do this.
Go.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I'll add to the toss because I have a little toss confessional. I used to have the yips. I remember probably when it got at its lowest point, I was a director of tennis at Almond and Valley Athletic Club in San Jose, California. And I was playing, the club tournament. And I remember that I would have the yips on my toss every once in a while to where all of a sudden the toss would go way, I'm a lefty, so it would go way out to the left. And it was embarrassing. And the other thing too is, especially if I play, because they put obviously me, since I was the director of the club, right on court one, which was great to have the toss yips and when that happens. And so I remember there'd be a deck right above where I toss. So I mean, it was just like the worst. I see my ball going away, and then I kind of like in my peripheral vision, I see all my students watching me absolutely throw a crappy toss up. And I got so self-conscious about it. And then I was at a USPTA convention, and just like everybody who's online, you're always looking for the golden ticket. And lots of times it takes more work than having a golden ticket, but this was a golden ticket moment for me where I remember as Ken DeHart said, if you're having trouble with your toss and it's going all over the place, release the ball at your nose. And then I kind of came up with the term, the nose always knows. Like if you release at the nose, and that I have not had a bad toss. I mean, of course I've had a bad toss here and there, but I've never got to a point where I don't feel like I can fix it anymore. Like I'm freaking out ever since that. So that's kind of an add-on to what you guys are talking about. Okay, mistake number 3. Let's do this.
This is the big one. The infamous waiter tray. The big issue with the waiter tray is it kind of connects to the grip. And a lot of times the waiter tray will stem from having the first mistake. Because serving like this, or I'll scoot you over again. If you're I'll be lefty for a second. If you're serving like this, it's very easy to, as you toss, everything is predicated on keeping the racket this way. And then, so once you get your grip situation where it's better, you can start feeling as if you're throwing. And the mechanics you want is to feel like your serve is a throwing action up. It's really interesting actually doing some research for an upcoming product and doing for some videos, looking at Roger Federer's serve. And I was actually comparing it to, I was watching a video of someone teaching throwing, basic mechanics of throwing. And it was like spot on. You can literally take the guy's mechanics of throwing and you look across Roger Federer's serves and it's like the exact same thing. The difference is that the target for a pitcher is in front. And the target for a tennis player, she's like,
get out of the way.
The target for a tennis player isn't in front. It's actually up and to the side. And so we're throwing this way. We're throwing that edge that we just talked about with having the right grip. And so, and this was a question, what was his name asked? I guess there's something about he was saying the YouTube take back or the stacker something. But in essence, it's making sure that you can focus on keeping the racket head down. The big mistake a lot of players make with their motion is they're opening up super early and it just gets stuck open.
Yeah. Even with the continental grip, the continental grip will help you in the right direction, but people still do that with a continental grip.
And it starts from the motion where you'll see players start their motion and they open their palm up and it just stays open. And so when their palm's super open, it gets stuck here. Like even with my palm here, you'll notice how the racket can't even drop that much. It's creating a lot of tension. And so if we can focus on a thing I like to say a lot is almost like you're trying to salute, or if you're almost trying to hit the back of your head a little bit, but getting this action of the arm and the elbow coming this way. So when you go into the throwing mechanics, then you start leading with your shoulder going up. That's the key to really, and that's the I would say other thing that starts maximizing your serve, because when you get the throwing mechanics right, and then when you have the ability to throw or use the somewhat of a continental grip or something where you can throw the racket on edge, you can start leveraging your racket. And the moment you start leveraging your racket, it's the thing that everybody wants, where they're getting more pace without having to put more effort. Because the moment you start leveraging, and you start leveraging big muscles like your shoulders, we'll talk about the hips in a little bit, and start using all this to send that the racket forward, you can start creating more racketed speed, and then you can control it by having the continental grip and where the racket's not up. And that's, I think, one of the big keys, is making sure we're keeping this racket closed on the way up. And you see different versions of it. You see Federer, where he takes his racket and his racket's closed, but it's further away from his body. You saw players like Roddick who keep it closed and they keep it very tucked in and abbreviated. I have no problem with either one of those, but the main thing you're seeing is them getting in this trophy pose position with the racket closed. And so they can lead the racket and have their motion where the racket drops, and that drop creates that acceleration they can use at contact.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good stuff. And I have a couple of questions here. Then I'm just going to make a quick teaching point real quick, and then I'm going to get into something I want to talk about, because this is a great one by Christopher. One thing to help you guys out with this too, what Kevin and Megan were talking about, is I've thought about this. I don't think you think about this naturally unless you're coaching and trying to figure out people's problems. But one thing you can do to kind of start get the feeling the right way is to focus on your thumbnail, because the people who flip back, when they go, their thumbnail starts to face away from them. So if you do some shadow swings and you literally don't look forward, don't even look at a ball, just watch your motion and keep your eye on your thumbnail. It stays to the inside. You can see your thumbnail until the last second when you push away. And so that's a great one, I think, to do some shadow swings, is just to focus on your thumbnail, make sure it's always looking at you until you want to go out and hit the ball. Okay, so Christopher, this is a great one. If you guys have a quick fix for this, then this is a great coaching moment for everybody watching. Many players change their grip in the service motion from continental Eastern. They don't even know they're doing it. Well, why is this happening? And how do you
reading my mind? Literally, I had this exact lesson yesterday. I was working with a client who's really athletic. He was athletic.
Actually a professional baseball player.
He's only been playing tennis for a couple of years. He's crushing serves. But here's the weird thing. I said, hit a second serve. Continental grip all the way through. Hit a first serve. Halfway through, he flips the grip and he goes. And I was like, whoa. And he kind of knew it, though. He's like, I kind of had a feeling for that. That is really a tough one, because a lot of times it goes back. One thing I've used, not to necessarily stop it, but to bring more awareness to it, is I'll have someone, I don't have one with me right now. You take maybe the cap of a pen, have them hold the racket, and stick the cap of the pen in between the finger. And so every time they try to move it, that'll fly out or it'll feel really uncomfortable. So you start them off there. And so it's just an awareness drill of like getting them to go, oh, I did it. I think one of the toughest things with stuff like this and anything that has to do with the serve, because I think the serve is the toughest thing for anybody to work on, is because most of it happens out of sight. After you go up, it's like magic happens here, and then it's like there. And so the key to really, if you really want to take your serve to the next level, is doing a lot of shadowing slow, but do it at home in front of a mirror. Most people do not know what's going on back here. And the moment you show them, they instantly go, oh, that's not right. And so it's just kind of like this big black box going back here that we need to either use video or use your phone and videotape yourself, or even just go in a mirror at your house and just see what's going on.
Kevin, I got to interrupt you. Bhaskar must have done a TikTok dance. We're at 100. Nice job, Bhaskar.
Yeah.
Good man. Very cool. That is awesome. That is awesome. Megan, you want to add anything to what Kevin was saying?
Yeah, I think the pin trick really does hold you accountable and help you see what's happening when you can't see it.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part about tennis, right? It's like you might know something isn't right, but understanding the little tricks that you can do to change it to create a new habit. It's all about the habit, right? Like if you have the habit of changing your grip, it becomes something that you do mindlessly. And so the goal is to have that pin or something there that can put a little bleep in your system when you do the habit, and that can create a new habit. But it's not like you working on it one time with a pin is going to make the difference. So you have to train it. And especially if you're always changing your grip, you're going to have to take some serious time to train it. And it might mean doing it in front of the mirror, doing it with video, doing it in front of your coach. Like it might mean doing a lot of different things, you know, for 30, 60 days until you really feel comfortable with the new kind of habit, because the serve has so many moving parts. And I think it's one of the reasons why it is such a hard thing for people to kind of master and be successful at. There's always, you know, the yips or something that comes up that kind of holds you back. So it's just training that with a habit.
I think, go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
One more thing really quick. Go slow in the beginning. So many times when trying to work with somebody serve, they're like, oh yeah, I got it. And they go, they'll do 1 or 2 really quick shadows and they're like, oh, let me try. And it's the exact same thing. The slower you go, the more you're going to have control over your body and the more you're going to make progress. And the slower you go, you'll get the result quicker, because the faster you go in the beginning, you're not getting anywhere. You're just doing the same old habits and it's going to take longer.
That is very cool. One thing I want to mention, because I love this tip too, I even use it in a lot of my lessons with people, is they say, love the birthday hat from 2 Minute Tennis, which is Ryan from 2 Minute Tennis. So guys, I want to let you know that Ryan is going to be part of TennisCon 5 as well. So pretty much anybody that you can think of. It's like we could almost play like Stump Me on who is not in TennisCon 5. So you guys better be excited. And if you don't know what the birthday hat thing is, you can just basically put anything on your head, and it's a matter of, you know, going and having the thing fall off. That's basically helps you do the swing path. And before we go into the next problem and how to solve it, I want to talk about something you said, Kevin, which is so true. People need to go through it slowly, and everyone who I've seen achieve a high level, whether that's professional, playing college, people who have awesome strokes at your club, they take tennis. Some part of their training is almost like somebody in martial arts. They just seem to naturally love the art of the technique. And so they like to go around the house and do shadow swings without anybody telling them. And you would hope that most people want to do this, but most people, this doesn't come natural, which is kind of weird. But everybody that I've taught them, like, damn, they're pretty good. Whether it's a kid or an adult, they just naturally love to do shadow swings, and they're really into the art, each move. And most people you teach, like Kevin just said, they're like, oh yeah, I got it. Because you're always looking for the result, or you know, you hear something and you want to solve it quickly, you know? So it's like, yes, we want to be problem solvers, but you also want to be like a Zen master with your problem solving. Like, don't be in a rush to solve the problem. Enjoy the process. Take your time with it. I think serving is the best thing to do by yourself. It's very cathartic if you just go out there and just relax and enjoy the art of it, and don't be so stressed about, you know, having to hit your 100 balls of serves. And, you know, like, I think people try and Iron Man their way too much through improving in tennis, and that's not the way to go.
Yeah. I had just a really quick story. I had a guy who flew in to do a one-on-one session, and he was one of the best students in the sense that every night, at first I thought he was joking. Every night he's like, I went home and I did like 300 shadows. And I was like, okay, sure you did. But then he stepped on the court and I saw a dramatic difference. I kid you not, a dramatic difference from day to day. We went on for about 4 days, and we do like an hour and a half. I show him stuff. We go through it. He would do shadows, come back. And the next day I was like, oh, wow, you did do a shadow. And the level of improvement in the course of a week was dramatically different than people who just come in and take privates here and there. They don't do the shadows, and they kind of think of the tennis lesson is this place where I go and everything happens there, and I leave and nothing happens until I get back to the tennis court. And I think that ownership you're talking about is huge if you really want to progress in your tennis journey.
Okay, can we get into this? Is this going to spoil your next thing? Pronation. I want to know your philosophy on pronation, teaching pronation. It seems like almost every one of my serve videos that gets a lot of views, there's always like a question like, but what about pronation? What do you guys think about teaching pronation and how important it is and focusing on it?
I'm pretty strong on this topic, but that's just me.
Go for it, Megan.
100% do not believe that you have to teach someone how to pronate. I think if the technique of how you're throwing and the technique of what Kevin's talking about happens, then pronation happens naturally. I think people who actually try to pronate while they're hitting actually have a whole lot of issues. But I do believe, like, if you have the racket drop correctly, you're coming up on edge, like you're doing all of those techniques correctly. If you're going to hit the ball with the strings, you're going to pronate because you're not going to hit the ball this way. So you're automatically going to pronate, and you're not going to stop and just come straight down. If you're loose, then your arm will technically just continue on through at the right timing. But that's just my feeling. I don't feel like teaching it is, imperative to actually. You're going to say something completely different.
No, I would never. Okay. I totally agree with that. And that's where I would start. I think the lack of pronation is a sign of tension. And so a lot of times we will see people like totally what Megan's talking about. They'll come through and they stop. And then if it progresses, then we might do sometimes I'll do the overhead kind of bouncing down drill with somebody just to get them to feel how loose this will be. Because if you ask somebody to do, if they do it correctly, an overhead wherever you hit it down, it'd be very weird for them to hit it down like this, kind of, just to make sure we're clear, hitting it down like this. It'd be very weird for them to hit the overhead or the ball that you pop and just go like this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tension. And so that's the progression I would take if they were having issues not pronating. Because if your edge is going through, and I think, again, this comes back to the idea of the very first thing we talked about, because if you've worked and had your grip like this, there is no movement here. And so there's a lot of tension here. There's a lot of angst about like rip it and rip it, okay? Compared to here is a whole new concept of like, I need to be loose. I need to let my racket loose, and I need to let the racket head work through the ball naturally, and it doesn't have to be muscled. And I think that's kind of one of those mindset shifts that people have to go through if they come from this mindset and this habit to starting to go, I need to be loose. And that's one of the biggest things we hear. It's like, you mean you want me to be relaxed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to try that. Or it's like, you mean I don't have to muscle the ball? Like, people will say this, like, I was just getting so tense. Like, I was trying to muscle it with my arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's a culprit of not pronating is tension. It's tight compared to being relaxed.
Yeah. I find that the people who really try and work on pronation, they end up like hitting it like super flat the opposite way, and it's got like no control. And another thing too is that, just like you were showing earlier, Kevin, the swing path is like this, guys. You see, and that I think, maybe we all could do a better job of online is really explaining, because a lot of people, I think they think like, because what do you do when you're hitting the ball flat? You learn going like this. So you're basically close to your ear and you're pushing it forward. And then you're like, oh, now I got to hit up on edge. So then this is when you really start to think about pronation. You're like, I'm going to go up on edge and then I'm going to pronate. Like, and so a lot of people who really focus on this, they end up serving very close to the ear, and then they're trying to come up on edge and pronate because you have to. See, but if I am going this way, I don't even need to think about pronate. I'm just coming here, and then I'm trying to hit the ball hard, and then that's when that pronation is happening. Just like a football player, they're throwing the ball, down the field, but they're not saying to themselves, I better pronate to throw that ball down the field. It's the same kind of concept. Okay, I want to go in this. Tom Nordstrom, another legend. He was on our Gigi Fernandez. Last night we had Gigi Fernandez and Arancha Sanchez Vicario, which was pretty amazing. She was super nice. And he's on all those streams. And so he would like, if either Kevin or Megan could find a pen and show them where exactly you're putting that ball on your racket. And then he also had a good point. You can go to oncourtoffcourt.com and you can get yourself a grip right trainer.
Yeah.
And that's a better version of the pen.
It is. We had a friend. We had a friend who gave us one of those, and that's a great one because with that, you wrap it around. If this is the same one, you wrap around, it has a nub.
Yes.
And you put your finger on the nub and it doesn't change.
That's
what
a
I
great
would do
way.
is take a pen like this and stick it, if you can see that, right there. So it basically acts like the
Put your hand up more, Kevin, and close to the camera. There you go. That's it, guys.
So what happens is if I move this is going to feel really weird. Most of the time when people move it, they start readjusting their hand. And so it sends more awareness that your hand's moving. Okay, I can do that again.
Hand up high.
Hit me in the process. Yeah, thanks.
There you go. So
there you go.
This trigger finger right
Yes.
into the trigger finger.
Okay?
Okay?
I mean, do we deliver on these live streams or what? I mean, that's going above and beyond. Okay, I think let's see. Oh, how about this? From Salzenstein, I found the elbow the enemy encouraged a better shoulder turn and more zip. First of all, Ron, you're exactly right. And guess who's part of TennisCon 5? Jeff Salzenstein. Okay, so you guys better be ready. All right, go ahead, Kevin and Megan. I think we're up to number 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is 4?
Yeah.
I think so.
Better accuracy. Like, how do we place the ball? Because we're talking about mechanics, but I think what people really want is they want to win more with their serve. And I think the first thing that comes to people's mind, I had this conversation, was like, I need to hit the ball harder. Harder is the only way I can win serves. And this is why this tip's so important, because really it's about accuracy. I would rather have a slower serve and be able to put it on a dime than have this big bazooka that a really good player is just going to go, you know what, I'm going to back up and I'm going to not have to deal with all this power. So the biggest thing about understanding placing the ball is about the racket face. And that same rhyme that we were talking about before, where the racket face sends it, the path bends it, is being more aware of where your racket face is at contact. And the problem is when we serve a lot of times, we just go out and serve. And so let's say we miss one long or we miss one wide. And we're like, what do I do? Compared to like if we're missing left to right, we want to adjust the racket face a little bit, left to right. And so a lot of times the drill we'll have people do, if we're just talking about left to right, we'll focus on hitting wide. And if you hit the ball down the tee, I want the next one to be way wide. And if you hit too wide, and so you're constantly making these adjustments until you train this habit in your mind and create the sense of where the ball's going to go based on where your racket face. I'm sure by now, when you serve, you don't even have to think about it. You just know I'm serving there. And what's really happening is the years and years of you training, you understand where the racket face needs to be at contact without thinking about it. And that's what people, I think, really want. The other thing is you have kind of two issues there, is the ball toss and the racket face when you're hitting it. If your toss is generally too far in front, it's going to close the racket face, because basically, if this is me and the toss is here, for my racket to reach, it's going to start closing if it's too far in front, just like if it's too far in back. And that's why the toss is very important, because that will influence potentially if your ball's going too long or too in the net. And so, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. So, but I think one of the things that is that understanding, again, the why. So understanding that the racket face is what causes the difference in, hitting down the tee or hitting out wide. And it's not a complete churn in your body or your complete change of swing path, or because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I just thought I turned my body and then I served. And I'm like, okay, well, if you start one way when you're serving out wide and you start another way when you're serving down the tee, people are going to start to realize what's going on, and like understanding that it's just a slight move of
Just the
racket face, can make a huge difference in where the ball goes. And then also understanding that there's confidence in understanding the why, right? Because if you hit the ball at the body and you meant to hit it down the tee, it's not that none of us have made that exact same error, because we have, but that we know how to adjust it to make sure that the next one is further down the tee, where a lot of people just keep continuing to hit serves and they don't really understand that small adjustment to make that correction.
Yeah.
It's not that we never, every time I tell Kevin, if we're playing doubles, I'm going down the tee and then I serve it out wide. It's not like he's like, oh, well, you don't know how to aim the ball. It's just that, okay, like I was a little off in what my brain and my body were doing. They were not aligned. And so now I need to recorrect that, and understanding the why that the racket face is making that happen, it allows me to do that.
Yeah. And now it gives you something to train with. Something where you're going out and serving and you're like, man, I keep missing it wide. Because I hear this a lot. I keep missing it wide. But you don't hear like, okay, I need to correct the racket face. They stop there because they don't have that information to go, oh, I just need to adjust my racket face. And if you understand that, you can start practicing to make sure your racket face is at the right angle that you want to hit the serve consistently. And that, I think, is way more powerful, because you can take someone who doesn't have a big serve, but if they can place it where you don't want to hit it, that serve becomes very big.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm going to give a little tip on what you guys are talking about. Then I think we need to address some questions. It's amazing how interactive this group is. So I definitely don't want them to feel like they're being ignored. We'll get to as many of them as we can. But here's another thing too. I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with and why they don't go fully committing to the continental grip is when they go to serve with the frying pan grip, they can be fairly accurate, not deadly accurate, because it's hard to, but it's more like when you're serving like this, guys, straight ahead, it's like you're throwing darts, okay? When you're starting to add spin, let's just say slice, it's like now you got to think of yourself more like a professional bowler. You need to anticipate the breaking of the ball, like the bending of the ball. And if you go and you switch to the continental grip and you're still trying to aim it like a dart, basically right at your target and expect it to go straight there, and you don't anticipate the break, then you're going to be like, well, why do all my serves go wide when I'm switching my grip to a continental grip and I've got slice? It's because you've got to now start to anticipate the hook. A professional bowler, they're going to flirt with the alley and they're going to see it break to the middle. They can't aim for the middle anymore. And so besides just the racket face adjusting, you have to understand the adjustments you have to make in what I like to think about the kinetic chain, from as low as your feet, your hips, and your shoulders. They all have to hold the right amount of time and then break at the right amount of time, depending where you want to see the ball land in your box and how much of a hook do you add to your serve. Like I add a big hook to my slice serve. So if I'm serving from the ad side, I really need to hold my hips and my shoulders a long time before I rotate it. Otherwise, I'll miss wide a lot. So that's the way I compensate for the ball breaking off, if that makes sense. Guys, talk a little bit about, this is from Francis. Can you talk a little bit about serve rhythm and how do you develop that and how important is it?
So when I start teaching someone whose rhythm is off, I count because I'm a counter. And so for some people that seems to work. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and they down together is 1, toss and up together is 2, racket drop 3, 4, make contact and finish. And so getting that rhythm, in the beginning, I go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so they can get that rhythm of hitting the ball. And then as time goes, I start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the rhythm becomes a little bit of a hold up and then acceleration as you want to accelerate your rhythm for your swing path. And that's something that I do often with a lot of people.
One thing I would say with rhythm is making sure that your motion matches your swing. Some people have motions
Yeah,
that
that's true.
don't match their swings, meaning that they have a short toss but a big motion, or they have a big toss and a short motion. Your toss has to match your swing, or vice versa. So if you have a big toss, you'll see like a Roger Federer has a little bit bigger motion, his toss is a little bit bigger. If you remember like Andy Roddick or someone like maybe a Monfils who has like more of a straight up, their toss is a little bit shorter. And so if you want to keep your rhythm, the rhythm I think is about how you don't feel rushed to get the racket up to go to contact. That's for me, the best rhythm is when I'm serving, I'm like, man, this is just nice. I'm going through my motion and everything's together. When I'm off rhythm, it's like I have to rush to get it up there, or I have to slow down and wait. And so that's a mismatch of timing. So the first thing I would start is there. Does my toss match my motion? Because most of the time it's easier to make your toss match your motion than change your motion to match your toss.
Right. And that's what the 1, 2, 3, 4, is for, is so that your toss is matching your rhythm, so it's all in one motion. And you'll see like people go 1, 2, and then they're 3, 4, and you're like, no, it didn't flow. 1, 2, 3, 4, getting them to understand that.
Yeah.
It's just a difference in mindset. I'm analytical and he's not. So it's
creative.
Yeah. 2 different brains. So yeah, so the counting works for me in that sense.
Very cool. This is a great one. I'm going to chime in on this one. You guys can maybe piggyback on it. Also, Kevin and Megan, if you have not found your link yet, get your link ready so that people can, because this is a great discussion. People obviously love it. I mean, most people are staying on. We're over 100 people. You guys are super interactive group. Amazing.
Love it.
So Kevin's going to give a link here that I'm going to put in the chat here in a second, that he's going to basically go on court and demonstrate everything for you guys. I think he might actually go film it right after this, so it might take you a while to get it, but he's going to do that for us, which is super nice. Here's the thing about the toss and the swing and the rhythm. I think the toss dictates a lot of the rhythm, and I think a lot of people get it wrong. So this will kind of help everybody with the rhythm. I think I'm going to blow myself up here for a second so you guys can really see it. So with the toss, basically what you want to think about is I like to think about my toss arm, my hip is like a marionette, like I got a string connected to my hip. And so as I go to pull, right, as I go to toss it up, it pulls my hip in. And this is when I go to transfer forward into the ball. And this is when I'm going to sink into my knee bend. And then I'm going to hold in this position until my legs start to go up and extend. And when my legs start to go up and extend, that's when I'm going to go to my racket drop and go. So that's just a little rhythm tip for serving that hopefully helps. But I'm sure Kevin's video is going to help much more than that demonstration. All right. So we're up to number 5. What is it?
5 was, and there, let me know if you got that.
Oh, did you send me in the private?
Messenger. Or because I'm not using my computer on it.
Oh, you sent me FB Messenger?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go look for it. You go talk. I'll go look. I'm going to go hunting for Kevin's
That's
link.
good. The next thing is rotation. Realizing how much power you can start achieving by using your hips. And what I mean by hips is when you start turning your hips against one another, turning your shoulders against your hip, you can create a ton of power. And so if you want to create more racketed speed, one part of it is learning how to use and turn your shoulders against your hips. And this is pretty much what would happen in your normal motion when you're turning and then uncoiling that. The more you start uncoiling that, and then it's almost like you go through the different things we've talked about, which means the motion, having the right toss, and then with the grip, you take all that energy and then it can really be unleashed on your serve. And then now you can serve and place the ball wherever you want. But it really stems from using your hips. Yes, you can get even more, a little bit more with your legs, but I think people would be really surprised how much energy you can get just by using your hips. And that's hugely important if you want to start putting more power in your serve. Because I think another thing is, depending on different levels, some people have trouble kind of like organizing their feet and their legs. So a lot of times in the beginning, I start off players if they're trying to figure it out on a platform stance, meaning that they don't have to move their feet forward instead of bringing their feet together. And that makes it much easier where they don't have to manage. And then they can start just working on using your hips. Because the more you turn, it also connects with that whole throwing mechanics that we talked about. The more you turn, the more you can uncoil. The more you coil, the more you can uncoil. And that's hugely important for adding more power to your serve.
Yeah, I think the toss turn is such an important tool for creating power. But if there's so many other things, like if you're not relaxed, it's not going to make a difference. So the relaxation, I think, is just so huge and underrated for so many things on the serve. I mean, in tennis in general, but especially on the serve, because if you're trying to muscle it with the toss and turn, and then it's still going to go against you. The more you try to hit the ball hard, the less power you actually create. And the looser you are, the more power you can create by coiling your body, by the toss and turn, all of that kind of stuff. And I think what happens is you always have someone, when you hit it correctly, people are like, oh, it was so smooth. It felt effortless. You hear that all the time. The ball went so hard and I didn't even do anything, and that's what you want to achieve, instead of you have the I'm trying to hit the crap out of the ball, and then you're not actually getting anything from that because you're muscling it all with the smallest muscles using your arm instead of using your body and your core, which is some of the biggest muscles in your body, and to be able to use and manipulate so that you can actually create that effortless power.
And I think one other thing that goes along with what she's saying is that all these things work in a timing and sequence, and that's what creates a lot of power. And it comes back to, again, that first start of when we start learning this way in the beginning. Think about what we're doing. We're just using one arm, one little hand here. You're not using the rest of your body. So it's that huge kind of transition between now, okay, I'm going to change my grip. Now I'm going to start doing more of a motion. Now I'm going to get my toss in the right place. And now I'm going to start using my body more. And that transition comes to what Megan was talking about, is relaxation. Because in the beginning it's tense because we're trying to use this small muscle to create all the power, compared to being loose and using all your big muscles to create this wave of power and send that through all the way to your arm.
I want to congratulate myself. It only took me 100 live streams and a good hour to figure out how to finally put my guest in the solo layout form. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're just checking on something. Somebody said there was a problem with the link.
Oh. There's a problem with the link?
Just double checking.
Let me put the link up there and see if this goes from me, because let's see. The link came up fine.
Okay. Just saw somebody said there was a problem with the link.
Well, keep going. Keep trying to click that link. Let me know if any. First of all, it worked. It worked for Sandrat.
Okay, cool.
Okay, sweet.
So that's good. And I'm going to come back. Okay, I'm back. So Jason Bourne, first of all, he's given a lot of different questions, so I don't want to ignore him. And this is a good one. For slice serve, do you brush up to the ball or hit down on the side? I have my own feelings about this as well. So what do you think?
One of the biggest things, at least that has been easy to describe to people, is for the slice serve, thinking of coming left to right. So as I'm swinging, and if you have all the other things we've talked about, I'm swinging left to right versus almost trying to, I think a lot of people almost think I'm trying to carve around the ball maybe, and I'm just going left to right. Again, if you go with the idea of the path, the racket face sends and the path bends it, as I'm going left to right here, my racket face is looking there. So as long as you're going left to right, you're going to get slice on the ball. And if you want a lot of slice, you go extreme left to right. If you want to just add, let's say, still hit the ball fairly big, you go through the ball a little bit more while going left to right. So there's different variations of how much left to right and penetration. I described it as almost like you have this line, you're not directly in front of me, but you have this line directly in front of you. The amount of penetration is back and forward, and then the amount of spin is left to right. So if you go completely left to right, you have the most extreme amount of spin. If you go left to right, but then start going forward, you get more penetration. So maybe a slice that's a fairly penetrating slice. If you have very little left to right and mostly penetration, you're going to get mostly a flat ball. And honestly, I think, at least this is what I think. When I hit a big serve, I hit like a big first serve, my first serve has spin on it. It doesn't have a lot of spin, but it has spin because I want to hit a big serve, but I want it also to go in. And I think a lot of people think when you're hitting a big, quote unquote, flat serve, it's zero spin and you're just nailing that sucker completely flat. And I think that, at least for me, is false. I hit big serves with spin to make sure I have margin to get the big serve to actually go in.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Let's see, I'm going to come back. I agree 100% with you. And I think that there's also, it's hard to answer that question exactly because I think for each player, as long as you're in the ballpark of technique, it might feel different to some players, you know. So I think it's a lot of experimenting, and the good thing about a slice serve to me, I think it's the first serve that if you could just start with one serve and master one serve, would be the slice because it could do so much, it can move so much, you can hit so much different variety on it. And like Kevin's saying, when he's playing a match, you know, his first serve that's big, most of the time it still has some degree of slice on it. So like if I'm hitting a big, harder slice serve, I feel like I'm kind of almost swinging down on it. I mean, that's what it feels like. Is that what scientifically is going on? Probably not, but that's what it feels like to me. Like I'm hitting a little bit of the side of the ball, but I'm hitting through it and down. That's what it feels like. If I'm going to hit a second serve with slice, then it feels like I'm swinging up more. And then I think of the slice serve like a snowflake. There's so much variation you can put that you can just play with it so much and have a bunch of different feelings. And as long as you're videoing yourself and it looks like in the ballpark of a pro, you're probably doing the right thing. If you're like onto something and then you video yourself and you look at yourself and you're like, that's not really what I want it to look like, then you're probably doing it wrong. So go video yourself so you can get verification if you're really understanding these concepts or not.
And I will say one thing just to make sure this is clear. I'm saying left to right because I'm a right-handed player. Yeah. If you're a left-handed player, it would be right to left.
Yeah, yeah. Here's one. If I had a reliable, decent spinny serve, I would be happy for now. So that's another thing, guys. You know, make sure that you get Kevin's videos and watch the videos, bring them out to the court. Make sure you watch TennisCon. We're going to have a lot on the serve. We're going to have a lot on every single stroke. We're going to have a lot of how to practice, of drills, of physical exercise you can do, mental things. I mean, it's going to be incredible. And the main thing you want to do is go from, which I know it's fun to watch and it's important to watch. It's part of the process, but then you've got to go do as well. Yeah. So make sure that you go put all this stuff into practice. You'll surprise yourself. It will work if you stick with it. Okay. So I'm going to put the link in. Those were all 5. So Kevin, and I don't know if Megan's helping you with this. So if I'm wrong on this, Megan can chime in too, but tell us about your TennisCon 5 video that you're going to make.
We're going to do
are both of you in it or just one?
I think I might be. We're working on it. But we're going to focus on the one-handed backhand and how to get more power. And I've got some really cool drills that I think will really help everybody, that they're really simple. I've done quite a few one-handed backhand videos. And I think it's really phenomenal when you pinpoint the couple little things that make a big difference. And so that's what we're going to focus on. The 1 or 2 things that'll really rev up your one-handed backhand and get it going. And it's going to seem like, wow, when I do this, I can get so much more racket at speed. And it's just a little easy tweak. And then we'll talk about everything else you can put around it to make sure you can make the most out of your one-handed backhand. So get ready.
Very good. Guys, be ready for TennisCon. Someone asked, please give us the dates for TennisCon. And so what the dates are, this is what we're going to do. The week of October 13th, you're going to get, and I apologize in advance, but it's the only way you all know. You're going to get a lot of emails from a lot of awesome online instructors saying sign up for TennisCon. Okay? And here's a spoiler alert. Pick your favorite instructor. click on their link, whether it's me, whether it's Kevin, whether it's Ian, whether it's Will, whoever is your favorite instructor, click on that link. You'll get free 48-hour access to each day. Now, I'm going to be fully transparent. I don't make TennisCon 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the people who sign up for free. Okay? And that's not just from a money perspective. It's because the people who are going to get the most out of TennisCon are going to upgrade to lifetime access. What I do with TennisCon 5, it's like going on a demo program at Tennis Express. Like, I'm letting you try it before you buy it. I'm letting you see the value. I'm not doing a bait and switch. You know, I'm letting you see the value so you can go, wow, this is really good. If I really go through this material, there's a lot of great stuff that will make me a better tennis player. It's like walking through the mall and getting a piece of chicken and going, I think I'm hungry. I want to go eat. That's why you guys get the free 48-hour pass. If you upgrade to lifetime, not only is your favorite instructor going to get some credit for that, but they're also probably going to give you an awesome bonus. So be looking out on the week of October 13th. And then then we're going to start on October 17th. We're going to have a kickoff party. Gigi Fernandez is going to be part of it. We're going to do tennis trivia where you can win some prizes. And then the 18th to the 25th, you guys will be able to watch all the amazing videos. You get free 48-hour access to each day. And that is it. That's it. Make sure that you click on Kevin's link right here. Now, Kevin, have you already made these videos? Or are you actually going out to the court to film these and then send them to people? How is this working?
I will make the videos. I haven't made the videos. I'm going to make the videos. Also, probably I don't know if I'll have a chance to go through maybe any extra things that people said, and make sure we go over the 5 topics of what we talked about today and drills that you can get, and I will send that to you. So you should, after you enter your email, get a thank you, just saying that we're going to send you the videos.
And so how long will it be before they actually get the videos, do you think? Just so they can kind of be realistic. Tomorrow.
We don't play.
Yeah, that's a big promise. Tomorrow, you guys will get the videos. And so, yeah, so you're not going to get them right away. Kevin's actually going to go out to the court and do this and send it. That's very, very nice. Because I can tell you, it's a lot of little steps and work to actually go out there and do this, guys. So it's pretty nice that he's doing this for y'all. I didn't expect him to do that. Guys, get lifetime access. It's a wonderful investment. I constantly go back to the past tennis cons and learn something new from each viewing coach. That's right. I just want to get on my I don't know, soapbox one more time. I was interviewing Mark Kovacs this year, and he's working with the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time. That's what kind of people we have. He was working with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's the best known sports biomechanics guy in tennis. And he was going through his top 10 exercises every tennis player should do to get better at tennis and to stay injury free. And as he was going through the top 10 list, I was going, this is amazing. Like, all these exercises, my students are going to love it. I got super motivated. I got to do them. And I was thinking, just this one video is worth more than the lifetime access pass of TennisCon. I was thinking that. And here's the crazy thing, and this is why it's important to have lifetime, is I've been making a ton of videos and been working on TennisCon, so I haven't had a chance to go back and watch Mark's. And I've kind of reminded myself, like, Pete, you should go watch Mark's things and add 1 or 2 of those exercises to your workout today. And I probably couldn't name 3 of the top 10 because I've forgotten. I just remember it was awesome. I just remember I loved it. I remember I was learning a lot, but I forgot a lot of what he said. And that's just completely honest. Okay, let's see. I feel sorry for Ian W. that he lost his indoor court. I do too. Yeah, and I feel sorry that he lost you guys too. But we all still love each other out here in internet world.
This is true.
Is there anything else that you guys want to say before we leave today?
Pertaining to the serve?
Just anything about where to follow you. Any parting message that you want to say?
Any parting message? Well, definitely, if you want to follow us, go to Total Tennis, or you can go to YouTube and search Total Tennis Domination. You can also go to totaltennisdomination.org. very soon, we're going to be actually releasing a serve and return course. So that's going to be really exciting. One of our first new courses coming out. So definitely you guys will be on. And we're going to also, and with you opting in for the 5 reasons, we'll send you first dibs on, we're going to do a pre-launch, and there will be a discounted price for the pre-launch before we do a main launch. So that's one exciting thing we do have coming up, that a lot of these things that we talked about today with the serves that we will be covering in there. And not only that, I think what, like Megan said, is understanding the why. And what makes this course really special is we're going to talk about a lot about the statistics and percentages and the reasons and the ways that you can start holding your serve more and breaking your opponent more. So it's not just a per se serve technique course, but it's also strategy about how do you hold your serve more? What's the approach you should be thinking about and doing to hold your serve more and be more successful on the court?
That's cool.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
Okay, guys. Very cool. One last question that Codisme asked me about TennisCon. Can you get old TennisCons? When you guys do upgrade to lifetime, you also get a choice if you want to have some of the TennisCons or if you want to have all of them in your collection. So yes, you can this year. And I usually just open this up like once a year. So yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for being on. We don't want to take too much more of Kevin's time because he's got to go out and shoot the video now, plus do his job, plus raise a kid. So thanks so much, guys. You guys take care. Go to Kevin's link
Thank you.
and take care, guys. Awesome live stream today.